Chapter 1. On the day of filling out college applications for the college entrance exam, my boyfriend Gu Kai successfully applied to the military academy he had always dreamed of, to help Lu Xiaoxiao, the class beauty who was working a summer job, meet her blood donation quota. He insisted on dragging me to the blood donation bus parked at the school gate. In my previous life, I kindly reminded him, that blood donation organization isn't legitimate. If you get infected with AIDS, your dream of attending military school will be ruined. Then he slapped me in public. Lu Qianqian, stop spreading rumors. You're just jealous of my relationship with Xiaoxiao, aren't you? The classmates around us also joined in with sarcastic remarks. That's right, Xiaoxiao and Kai Gu are the real couple. She's so vicious, actually cursing Kai to get AIDS. I was so angry that my whole body trembled. But for Gu Kai's future and the safety of the entire class, I endured my humiliation and contacted his parents, forcing him to leave. Later, Lu Xiaoxiao failed to hit her quotas and was trafficked to northern Myanmar by an illegal broker. She became a plaything of drug lords and led a living worse than death. Gu Kai blamed all of this on me. One late night, he came with 2 large buckets of gasoline and set fire to me and my parents, burning us alive and the entire class. In order to help him clear his name, collectively fabricated an alibi proving he wasn't there. Before dying, I was choked by thick smoke. Unable to breathe, Gu Kai stared at me through the flames, his eyes filled with hatred. Lu Qianqian, if you hadn't stopped me from donating blood, how could Xiaoxiao have ended up like this? Your whole family deserves to die. My parents shielded me with their bodies until the very end, still calling my name. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day Gu Kai tried to drag me to donate blood. In my ears, Gu Kai was shouting furiously, Lu Qianqian, what do you think you are? Xiaoxiao grew up with me. Her matters are my matters. Not only am I donating 400 milliliters today, but I'm also bringing the whole class to boost her performance. As soon as he finished speaking, he raised his hand to slap me again. In my previous life, it was that slap that turned me into the class joke. This time, I didn't dodge. At the moment his hand came down, I grabbed his wrist and violently pulled it back. Slap. The crisp sound of a slap echoed through the classroom. Gu Kai staggered back half a step, clutching his face, staring at me in disbelief. The entire class instantly fell silent. I shook my numb hand and looked at him coldly. Gu Kai, I gave you face by reminding you that there's something wrong with that blood donation bus. If you don't appreciate it, you can go die. But if you dare lay a hand on me, I'll make sure you end up in the police station right here and now. Gu Kai's eyes instantly turned red. Luo Qianqian, have you lost your mind? Lu Xiaoxiao immediately rushed over, her eyes brimming with tears. Qianqian, how could you hit a Kai? He was just too anxious. After all, the part-time institution I work for has targets today, and if I don't meet them, I'll really get my salary deducted. As she spoke, tears fell. I know you don't like me, but donating blood is a good thing that saves lives. For every additional 100 milliliters of blood donated, a critically ill life may be saved. Even if you're jealous that a Kai cares about me, you can't wish for everyone to get infected with AIDS. The classmates immediately snapped back to attention and stepped up to defend her. Luo Qianqian, you've gone too far. Xiaoxiao is so kind-hearted. How could you have the nerve to bully her? She just can't stand it when brother Kai is nice to Xiaoxiao. Gu Kai also regained his confidence, pointing at my nose and cursing. If Xiaoxiao has already said that, why are you still pretending? I'm telling you, today I'm not only going to offer myself, but I'm also bringing the whole class with me. Who wants extra credit? Who wants to do a good deed? Come with me now. The moment the words, extra credit, were spoken, everyone's eyes in the class lit up. A flicker of triumph flashed in Lu Xiaoxiao's eyes, yet she continued to feign innocence. It's not really about credits, I just want to help the organization meet some public welfare targets. But the blood donation certificate will actually be useful later, things like university merit awards, party membership applications, and comprehensive evaluations will look better. In my previous life, I was so anxious when I heard those words. I cried and begged them not to go, saying that Car really had problems, and that I had seen news reports about heartless blood donation centers having accidents, but no one listened. They only thought I was malicious, jealous, and cold-blooded. In this life, I am in no hurry. I took out my phone, turned on the camera, and aimed it at Lu Xiaoxiao. Come on, say it again. Lu Xiaoxiao froze. Say what? Say that blood donation center is absolutely legitimate. Say donating 800 milliliters is fine. Say it can give everyone extra credits. I smiled. Didn't you dare to guarantee it with your character? Why are you afraid to say it in front of the camera? Lu Xiaoxiao's face turned pale. Gu Kai stepped forward sharply. Luo Qianqian, what are you trying to do now? I turned the phone screen toward him, recording evidence. If you want to go, I won't stop you, but whoever organized it, whoever made the promises, whoever encouraged everyone to donate blood, they need to make it clear, so that when something goes wrong, no scumbag can shift the blame onto me. Gu Kai was enraged by my beast remark and raised his hand to snatch the phone again. I took a step back and immediately dialed my dad's number. The call was answered almost instantly. Qianqian. Hearing my father's voice, my throat tightened. In my previous life, he used his body to block the falling cabinet and the fire, pushing me toward the window. I didn't have time to escape, and neither did he survive this life. I kept my voice steady. Dad, I'm at school. Gu Kai and Lu Xiaoxiao are planning to take the whole class to donate blood at an unidentified blood donation vehicle. Lu Xiaoxiao says the vehicle is legitimate and that donating blood can earn us academic credits. I suspect it's an illegal operation. Please call the police for me and also contact the health department. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. The next second, Dad's voice turned icy and heavy. Qianqian, take care of yourself. Dad will be here soon. I know, he has returned too, because in my previous life, my father's last words before he died were, Qianqian, if we could start over, don't save that ungrateful person again. Now, on the phone, he said, this time, no one will be allowed to hurt you. I hung up the phone and immediately sent the video I had just recorded into the class group chat. Added another message. I have clearly warned that the qualifications of this blood donation organization are questionable. Those who go voluntarily do so at their own risk. Organizers, Lu Xiaoxiao, Gu Kai, witnesses, the entire class. The classroom fell into a deathly silence. A few seconds later, Gu Kai was furious. Luo Qianqian, what the hell is wrong with you? I looked up at him. Didn't you say you were doing good deeds openly? What? Afraid of leaving a record? Gu Kai was speechless. Choked by the words, Lu Xiaoxiao bit her lip, then immediately started crying again. Qianqian, how can I face people in the future if you keep acting like this? I let out a laugh. You're the one who's supposed to be being a person. First show me your qualifications, then we can talk about being a decent person. Chapter 2. Lu Xiaoxiao, of course, couldn't produce any qualifications. All she could do was say, with reddened eyes, that I was bullying her. Gu Kai immediately stepped forward to support her. Xiaoxiao, you don't need to be afraid. With me here, she won't dare do anything. He turned his head and glared at the entire class, gritting his teeth and saying, brothers, let's go. Whoever goes with me today is a brother recognized by me. Gu Kai, in the future, when we go to college, we'll earn credits together and share the benefits. The sports committee member was the first to stand up. Kai Gu, I'll go with you. Several girls followed suit. I'll go too. Donating blood to save lives is such an honorable thing. Some people are cold-hearted themselves, yet they won't allow others to be kind. A group of people marched out in a grand procession. When they reached the door, Gu Kai turned back to look at me, his face filled with mockery. Lu Qianqian, if you kneel down and apologize now, I might consider forgiving you. I sat in my seat, slowly opened my thermos, and took a sip of water. 400 milliliters is nowhere near enough. I suggest you just drain it all, don't leave a single drop. Gu Kai's face turned ashen. You just wait. When we get our blood donation certificates and get extra points for evaluations, don't come crying with regret. I ignored him. After they left, I immediately turned on my computer, logged into the City Health Commission's reporting platform, and uploaded everything: the license plate of the blood donation vehicle, its location, Lu Xiaoxiao's promotional pitch, and screenshots of the class group chat. After that, I backed up the video to the cloud drive and sent it to Mom and Dad. In my previous life, I suffered because I had no evidence of being bullied, no evidence of being slandered, finally burned alive, and the whole class could still provide false testimony for Gu Kai. In this life, every step I take, I will make them hand over their own evidence of guilt directly to me. Half an hour later, my mother sent me a message. Qianqian, don't be afraid, your dad and I are on our way. The traffic surveillance footage around that car has already been retrieved by your dad. Police and health authorities are also in the past. Just take care of yourself. Looking at these lines, my eyes grew a little warm. In my previous life, I always felt isolated and helpless, but that wasn't the case. I had parents, they loved me, protected me, but were dragged down to their deaths because of me. This lifetime, I'll be the one to protect them. I didn't follow them to the blood donation bus, just took a few photos from afar at the school gate. That gray-white van was parked at the entrance of the alley, with red letters on its body reading, "Donate Blood, Light Up Lives." Half of the license plate was covered in mud, the car windows were covered with dark film, making it impossible to see inside. Lu Xiaoxiao stood at the car door, smiling sweetly as she registered her classmates. Gu Kai was the first to roll up his sleeves and step inside. Before entering, he deliberately gave me the middle finger. I smiled and took a photo. Very good. Voluntarily got on the vehicle, donated blood voluntarily, organizer present, complete chain of evidence. Soon, the students entered one after another. At first, they excitedly posted on their social media, "Do something meaningful before graduation, donate blood to save lives, no regrets in youth, support the public welfare activities organized by Xiao Xiao Little Angel." I took screenshots one by one and saved them. Before long, the trend in my social media circle changed. Someone posted, "Why does it cost 800 yuan for one draw? I'm a bit dizzy." Xiao Xiao Lu replied below, "It's normal, boys have good health, even 800 meters is fine, go back and drink more brown sugar water." Someone asked, "Didn't you say the maximum is 400? Gu Kai replied, "What are you afraid of? We from the rocket class don't even have this much dedication." I continued taking screenshots. 40 minutes later, the police car and the law enforcement vehicle from the health department arrived. The blood donation vehicle seemed to sense something was wrong and tried to drive off as soon as its doors closed, but the school gate had already been blocked. I stood not far away, watching several uniformed officers board the vehicle for inspection. Soon, an argument erupted inside. "You don't have the qualifications for blood collection. What about the source of the blood collection needles? Where are the disinfection records? Who allowed you to collect excessive blood?" From minors and recent graduates, Lu Xiaoxiao's face was deathly pale as she kept explaining, "I don't know, I was just handing out flyers part-time, they said there were quotas, I was just helping to recruit people." Gu Kai, clutching his arm where blood had been drawn, his face turning ashen, was still protecting her. "Don't scare her, she just wanted to do something good," the law enforcement officer asked coldly. "Do something good? Inducing students to donate excessive amounts of blood, promising false academic credits, suspected of illegally organizing blood collection. You can't leave, any of you." Gu Kai was stunned. The classmates also panicked. Someone collapsed on the spot, leaning against the wall and vomiting. Someone shouted at Lu Xiaoxiao, "Didn't you say it was legitimate? Didn't you say it would add credits?" Lu Xiaoxiao's tears instantly fell. "I really don't know, I was deceived too," she cried pitifully. In my previous life, seeing her cry would make me rush to prove that I hadn't bullied her. In this life, I only took out my phone and clearly filmed her crying and screaming. Then, I said to the camera, "Lu Xiaoxiao, just now you said in the classroom yourself that you've been working part-time at this institution for a long time, and all your qualifications are complete. Now you're saying you don't know again. Inconsistent statements. I will submit them to the police together." Lu Xiaoxiao suddenly looked up, glaring at me with hatred. That look flashed by in an instant, but I captured it. Chapter 3. After the whole class donated blood, they were all required to go to the hospital for a preliminary checkup. Due to the excessive amount of blood drawn, many people looked deathly pale. Gu Kai still tried to maintain his heroic act. "What are you afraid of? It's just a little more blood drawn. I'm in good health. I passed the military academy physical exam without any issues. This is nothing." I stood at the other end of the hospital corridor, watching him. Coldly, he saw me and immediately got angry. "Luo Qianqian, was it you who called the police? Did you do it on purpose?" I directly turned on the phone's voice recorder. "Yes, I was the one who called the police. I reported illegal blood collection to protect my classmates' safety. Is there a problem with that, or do you think illegal organizations shouldn't be investigated?" Gu Kai gritted his teeth. "You just can't stand to see Xiao Xiao doing well." I nodded. "Right, I can't stand to see criminals doing well. If Lu Xiaoxiao is innocent, the police will clear her name. If she's not innocent, she can look forward to going to jail." Upon hearing this, Lu Xiaoxiao's tears fell once more. "Qianqian, we're classmates. Why do you have to speak so harshly? I just wanted to earn a little extra money from a part-time job. You have money, so of course you don't understand the struggles of ordinary people." I just laughed directly. "Poverty is not your excuse for lying. Part-time work is not your excuse for harming others. You took a bonus of 200 yuan per person, and you tricked your classmates into donating excessive amounts of blood. Why didn't you think they were just ordinary people too?" Lu Xiaoxiao's face suddenly changed. "You're lying. I showed her the screen of my phone. Above is a screenshot of her conversation with the unlicensed agent. This is what my dad just sent me. He hired someone to investigate the person in charge of that car, and then traced the payment account to the part-time job group. Lu Xiaoxiao said in the group, students in the rocket class all come from well-off families, so I heard they'll definitely come if there are extra credits. Men have strong constitutions. 800 milliliters is fine, as long as I complete 30 people. Can the commission be calculated at the highest rate? Gu Kai snatched the phone, and his face froze after reading it. Xiaoxiao, is this true? Lu Xiaoxiao's eyes were red with tears. Ah Kai, I have no choice. My dad owes gambling debts, and they said if I don't meet the quota, they'll come after me. I really didn't mean to harm everyone. As soon as she cried, Gu Kai's heart softened again. Why didn't you tell me if you were in trouble? I could have helped you. I clapped beside them. How touching. Gu Kai, your goddess used your entire class's blood to earn her commission, and you still feel sorry for her. It's a shame you didn't apply to military school with that brain of yours. If the enemy handed you a cup of poison on the battlefield, you'd probably still praise them for their kindness. A few classmates had originally intended to scold Lu Xiaoxiao, but upon hearing Gu Kai's words, their faces turned dark. The physical education monitor immediately rushed forward and grabbed Gu Kai by the collar. Are you still defending her? We were tricked by her into donating 800 milliliters of blood. The doctor said we need to observe and follow up. What if something goes wrong? Gu Kai also grew anxious. You can't blame Xiaoxiao alone for this. It was your own decision to go. As soon as those words came out, everyone was stunned. In my previous life, they had banded together to bully me and gave false testimony for Gu Kai. In this life, before they even had a chance to join forces, they had already started turning on each other, watching them fight like dogs tearing each other apart. I felt nothing but satisfaction. That evening, the hospital's initial screening results were not yet fully available, but the school was already in chaos. The homeroom teacher sent over a dozen messages in the group chat, demanding that everyone go home immediately to rest and wait for the CDC's reevaluation results. The students were full of complaints. Some had their graduation trips ruined, some people couldn't go to their summer jobs, some parents rushed to the hospital and slapped their child right then and there. Gu Kai's mother also came. She was wearing an orange vest of a sanitation worker, her hair stuck to the side of her face with sweat. The moment she saw Gu Kai, she burst into tears anxiously. How could you be so foolish? Your father died early, and I've been working day and night to support your studies, just hoping you could get into a military academy and make something of yourself. Why on earth would you go donate blood on that kind of vehicle? Gu Kai impatiently shook her off. What are you crying for? I'm not dead yet. Besides, if it weren't for Luo Qianqian calling the police and making a big deal out of it, things wouldn't have turned out like this. Gu's mother was stunned, turning her head to look at me. In the previous life, she also hated me, because Gu Kai failed to donate blood, and Lu Xiaoxiao got into trouble. She believed I was the one who caused her son to lose the person he loved. This life, I didn't give her a chance to misunderstand. I sent the video to her directly. Auntie, watch it yourself. I tried to persuade him, but he wouldn't listen. I reminded him, and he cursed me. I called the police because that car was breaking the law. If you think I did something wrong, we can go to the police station and talk about it. After watching the video, Mother Gu's face turned pale inch by inch. She turned around and slapped Gu Kai across the face. Bastard, Qianqian is trying to save you. Gu Kai covered his face in disbelief. Mom, you're taking her side too. Gu's mother cried and said, I'm not helping her, I'm helping you. If you fail this military academy medical examination because of this, what will you do with your life? Gu Kai finally panicked for a moment. Military academy was his greatest dream. In my previous life, I sacrificed my entire family to help him keep that dream. This life, I watch him shatter that dream with his own hands. Not a single ounce of pity. Chapter 4. The next day, the school notified all involved students and parents to return to campus, waiting collectively for re-examination arrangements and police questioning. I went too, not because I was guilty, but because I wanted to see them break down with my own eyes. As soon as I entered the classroom, dozens of eyes pierced through me. Gu Kai sat in the front row, with dark circles under his eyes and an unpleasant expression. Lu Xiaoxiao sat beside him, her eyes swollen like walnuts. When she saw me, she immediately lowered her head, looking as if she had been bullied and was afraid of me. I didn't bother looking at her and went straight to sit in the last row. Within a few minutes, several girls gathered around. In my previous life, led by Lu Xiaoxiao, they threw my books into the toilet, put chalk dust in my water cup, and even used a lighter to burn my hair. This time, as soon as they approached, I propped my phone up on the desk. The screen shows a live connection, connected parties, my dad, my mom, the lawyer, and the principal's office. One of the girls stiffened. Luo Qianqian. What do you mean? I looked up, smiling gently. Self-defense. After all, you were just questioned by the police yesterday. If you still want to bully me today, I don't mind making the evidence a bit more complete. Another girl gritted her teeth. Who's trying to bully you? We just want to ask, why did you have to make such a big deal out of it? I nodded. Good question. Because Lu Xiaoxiao organized a legal blood collection, Gu Kai led the coercion of classmates to participate, and you all participated in slandering, insulting, and threatening me. If I don't make a big deal out of it, should I just wait for you to pin the blame on me? The girl's face flushed red. Don't get too cocky. I leaned back in my chair, my tone calm. Of course I'm proud. I didn't donate blood. I didn't break the law. I wasn't involved in fraud. I didn't have the risk of a military academy physical, and I wasn't a key subject of police questioning. Why shouldn't I be proud? The girl was so angry her eyes turned red, yet she couldn't utter a single word in rebuttal. At that moment, Gu Kai suddenly stood up. Luo Qianqian, are you done yet? Everyone is already in this state, and you still want to kick them while they're down. I look at him. How is everyone doing? Physically weak, future prospects affected, summer vacation ruined. Wasn't that organized by you and Lu Xiaoxiao? Weren't you quite impressive when you took the lead? Isn't it very loyal when you say that whoever doesn't go isn't your brother? With every question I asked, Gu Kai's expression grew more unpleasant. I stood up directly and walked in front of him. Gu Kai, just a second ago you said Xiaoxiao's matter was your matter. The next second something happens, and you want the whole class to share the responsibility. What kind of man are you? Someone in the class couldn't help but murmur in agreement. Just, if he hadn't taken the lead, I wouldn't have dared to go either. Lu Xiaoxiao too. She said it could add credits. Gu Kai suddenly turned around. Are you blaming me now? The sports committee member sneered. Who else should we blame if not you? Lu Qianqian warned us. But you said she was spreading rumors. You were the one who said you'd take the whole class, and now you're pretending to be innocent. Gu Kai was so angry that the veins on his temples throbbed. Seeing the situation turn sour, Lu Xiaoxiao immediately stood up in tears. Everyone, stop arguing. It's all my fault. If you must blame someone, blame me. As soon as she started crying, Gu Kai was about to step in to protect her. I spoke up first. All right, then blame you. Lu Xiaoxiao's sobbing paused. I took out the printed chat records and slammed them directly on the table. These are your chat records in the part-time job group. This is the transfer record of the commissions you received. This is the recording of you promising extra credits for donating blood. This is the video of you inducing a minor to donate excessive amounts of blood. Tell me yourself, should everyone blame you? Lu Xiaoxiao's face turned deathly pale, her body swaying unsteadily. You, how could you have these? I smiled. What's wrong? You didn't clean up properly when you did something wrong, and now you blame me for finding out. Just then, the homeroom teacher pushed the door open. Her face was pale, and behind her were the principal, the dean, and 2 police officers. The entire class fell silent instantly. The principal scanned the room and said gravely, the illegal blood donation incident yesterday had an extremely negative impact. The relevant institution has been shut down. The police will continue to investigate the financial relationship between student Lu Xiaoxiao and the institution. As for the students who participated in blood donation, the school will cooperate with the disease control department to conduct follow-up examinations. Someone asked tremblingly, Principal, can we still go to college? The principal fell silent for a moment. Wait for the recheck results. Those 4 words were more terrifying than any verdict. Gu Kai's face turned pale. He finally remembered his dream of attending military academy. Chapter 5. 3 days later, the re-examination results came out. Of the 37 students in the class who participated in blood donation, multiple infectious disease tests showed abnormal results. Requiring long-term follow-up observation, several students tested positive in the initial screening, and the CDC required further retesting for confirmation. Gu Kai's name was among them. When the news reached the school, the entire rocket class was in an uproar. Someone collapsed and fainted on the spot. Someone frantically called their parents. Someone rushed into the restroom and vomited. Gu Kai held the report, his hands trembling so badly he couldn't even grip the paper. This can't be. How could I have a problem? I'm going to the military academy. How could I possibly have a problem? Lu Xiaoxiao stood by, her expression also grim. but she didn't donate blood. She was fine physically. More ironically, her admission letter also arrived. A 985 university, top-tier major. The homeroom teacher walked in with the admission letter, her expression complicated. Lu Xiaoxiao, your admission letter. Everyone in the classroom looked at her. At that moment, resentment, jealousy, and hatred nearly overwhelmed her. Someone shouted hoarsely, why should she get away with it? She took us to donate blood, but she's fine herself. Can she still get into a 985 university? Lu Xiaoxiao, her face pale, forced herself to say, I was just working part-time. I didn't know it would turn out like this. Besides, whether to donate blood or not was your own decision. You can't stop me from going to college just because something happened to you, can you? This sentence completely ignited the crowd's anger. The sports committee member rushed over and grabbed her hair. Slut, when you took your commission, why didn't you say we'd decide for ourselves? When you mentioned extra credits, why didn't you say we'd be responsible for ourselves? Gu Kai also rushed over frantically. Lu Xiaoxiao, why didn't you donate? You said donating blood saves lives, so why don't you donate yourself? Lu Xiaoxiao was so frightened by him that she stepped back. I'm anemic. The doctor said I can't donate. Gu Kai's eyes were red. If you can't donate, then you want us to. Lu Xiaoxiao shook her head, crying, Kai, don't be like this. You said you would protect me forever. Gu Kai seemed to be struck by these words, his movements pausing for a moment. In his previous life, he had been completely controlled by Lu Xiaoxiao's demeanor, but in this life, his dream of attending a military academy was shattered. His medical examination report was abnormal. His mother cried until she nearly fainted. His future could no longer be brushed off with a simple, I'll protect you. He snatched the admission letter from the homeroom teacher's hand. Lu Xiaoxiao screamed, Gu Kai, what are you doing? Gu Kai stared at her intently. If we can't go to college, you won't go either. Rip. The gilded cover was torn in half by him. Lu Xiaoxiao lunged forward frantically to snatch it. The other classmates also rushed over. Some grabbed the fragments, some tore at her clothes, and some slapped her across the face. The homeroom teacher and the principal quickly called for security. I stood at the classroom door, watching the scene with cold eyes. In my previous life, they had surrounded me in the same way. They tore my school uniform, took photos of me, stepped on my hands, and called me filthy. At that time, I cried and begged for mercy, but no one let me go. In this life, I won't rush in to stop them. I'll just raise my phone and record a video, not to watch the commotion, but to submit evidence so that every person who took action would pay the price for their behavior. Soon, security rushed in and pulled the crowd apart. Lu Xiaoxiao slumped on the ground, her hair disheveled, her face covered in slap marks. She held the torn admission letter, crying her heart out. My university, you've ruined my university. I finally spoke. Lu Xiaoxiao, what you've ruined isn't just someone else's university, you've ruined the lives of 37 people. Now you know what pain feels like. Lu Xiaoxiao suddenly looked up, her eyes filled with venom. Lu Qianqian, it's all your fault. If you hadn't called the police, this wouldn't have blown up like this. I smiled. Yeah, if I hadn't called the police, that car could have kept hurting people. If I hadn't kept evidence, you could have pinned it all on me. Lu Xiaoxiao, hating me is useless. Evidence won't play along with your act. She gritted her teeth but couldn't utter a word. Just then, a knock came from the classroom door. An EMS courier stood outside the door, holding a red express delivery envelope. May I ask which one of you is Miss Luo Qianqian? All eyes turned to him. After confirming my identity, the courier handed me the envelope. Congratulations, this is your Tsinghua University admission notice. Still a recommended student, that's really impressive. The classroom fell into instant silence. Lu Xiaoxiao's sobs caught in her throat. Gu Kai's face was filled with disbelief. Tsinghua University, impossible. Luo Qianqian's grades clearly aren't even in the top 30 of the class. How could she possibly be recommended for admission to Tsinghua University? I opened the envelope, took out the admission letter, and slowly showed it to everyone. Because I won a national award in the competition, because I had already passed Tsinghua University's strong foundation program and the early admission review, the college entrance exam was just me putting a period at the end of my 3 years of high school life. I looked at their pale faces and said softly, you thought that because I didn't speak, I had nothing to say. You thought that because I tolerated, I was easy to bully. Now do you see clearly? Me and you have never been on the same track. Chapter 6. The principal was more excited than anyone else. Our school has been around for many years, and we've never had a student admitted to Tsinghua University through recommendation. He held my admission letter in both hands, his eyes turning red. Student Luo, well done, This is an honor for our school. The homeroom teacher also squeezed over, a wide smile covering his face. Qianqian, the teacher has known for a long time that you're a promising student. Back then, the teacher was strict with you because I wanted you to be even better. I looked at her, my smile fading. Teacher Zhang, are you sure you were strict with me, not indulging in bullying? The homeroom teacher's face stiffened. The surrounding teachers fell silent as well. I turned on my phone and played another video. In the video was a scene that had happened in my previous life, except this time I had already placed a miniature camera in the classroom in advance. Several girls threw my exercise book into the trash can. Gu Kai deliberately took away my water bottle, Lu Xiaoxiao said with a smile. Anyway, she wouldn't dare to complain. The homeroom teacher passed by the window, clearly saw what was happening, but only frowned and walked away. And last week, when Gu Kai tried to get physical, classmates surrounded me, and the homeroom teacher heard the commotion but didn't intervene. Immediately, after the video finished playing, the homeroom teacher's face turned pale. Qianqian, I didn't realize the situation was this serious. I look up, you don't know, I once told you that Lu Xiaoxiao led others to ostracize me. You said it takes two to tango. I said Gu Kai used me as a shield to provoke Lu Xiaoxiao. You said not to make a big deal out of teenage emotional issues. There was chalk dust put in my water cup, and you said there's no evidence. My book was thrown into the toilet, and you told me to reflect on my relationships. Now I have evidence. Teacher Zhang, what else do you want me to reflect on? The homeroom teacher opened his mouth but couldn't utter a single word. The principal's face also darkened. Teacher Zhang, after this matter is settled, please write a situation report. The homeroom teacher's legs went weak. I didn't continue to press the issue. Now is not the time to settle accounts with her. What I need to settle is this group of people in front of me who want to drag me down again. Sure enough, after a brief moment of shock, Lu Xiaoxiao began to think again. She looked at Gu Kai, then at the other classmates, and suddenly cried out, "Don't be fooled, everyone, Lu Qianqian's family is rich, and she even has a Tsinghua University acceptance letter. Of course, she wants to step on us all. She already knew there was something wrong with that car, yet she deliberately didn't stop us. She's using someone else's knife to kill. She's manipulating others to do her dirty work." The classmates, reminded by her words, changed their expressions again. Gu Kai also grabbed at a lifeline, suddenly pointing at me. "Yes, Luo Qianqian, if you knew something was wrong, why didn't you stop us? You just wanted to watch us die." I almost laughed out loud. "Didn't I stop you? I warned you, and you hit me. I called the police, and you yelled at me. I posted a disclaimer in the class group chat, and you mocked me. Now that something has happened, you say I didn't stop it." I projected the class group chat records onto the classroom's large screen. Every message was crystal clear. I expressed my doubts to the institution. Gu Kai replied, "Cut the crap. Xiaoxiao's character is 10,000 times better than yours." Lu Xiaoxiao replied, "Qianqian, you've really hurt me." The sports committee member replied, "Whoever doesn't go is a coward." Several girls replied, "Luo Qianqian is just jealous." I looked at them. "The evidence is right here. Want me to read it to you?" Again, no one spoke. Gu Kai's face darkened, and he suddenly gritted his teeth and said, "Even so, your family has money. Now that we're all in trouble, what's wrong with you paying a little compensation? If you don't pay, we'll expose you for being heartless and causing your classmate to get infected." The others, as if finally finding an outlet, immediately followed suit and shouted, "That's right, pay up. You're already at Tsinghua University. Can't you spare this little money? Our lives are ruined. You must take responsibility." Lu Xiaoxiao also wiped her tears and chimed in, "Qianqian, we're all classmates. Your family is well off. Please help us. Even if each person is compensated 3 million, it's just the price of one of your family's houses." I looked at her. "Lu Xiaoxiao, you've got quite a plan. First trick them into donating blood, then encourage them to extort me. Do you think the whole world is your ATM?" Her face turned pale. I directly dialed Mom's phone and turned on speaker. "Mom, you can come up now." On the other end of the phone, Mom's voice was gentle yet firm. "Okay." Chapter 7. 3 minutes later, my parents entered the classroom with a lawyer and police officers. The moment my mom walked in, she pulled me into her arms. Her hands were trembling, but her voice was steady. "Qianqian, don't be afraid. In this lifetime, no one will ever lay a finger on you again." The whole class was stunned. Gu Kai's pupils suddenly contracted. "This lifetime?" My mother looked up at him, her gaze chillingly cold. "Gu Kai, in the last life, you burned our whole family to death. In this life, do you still want to ruin my daughter?" Gu Kai's face turned pale instantly. Of course, he didn't know that my parents had also been reborn in that fire from my previous life. The three of us, my family, died together. When I opened my eyes again, it wasn't just me who had returned, my parents had also come back with their memories, so the moment I called them, they didn't ask me how I knew about the Black Bloodmobile, nor did they tell me to endure it a little longer. They only said, "Protect yourself, we'll be right there." Dad handed a USB drive to the police. "This is the surveillance footage we retrieved from the road administration at the school gate, the surveillance around the blood donation vehicle, and all the audio and video backup submitted by my daughter. In addition, these are the transaction records and chat logs between the person in charge of the illegal blood donation vehicle and Lu Xiaoxiao. This is a screenshot of the group chat where Gu Kai and others later colluded to fabricate testimony and blackmail my daughter." Lu Xiaoxiao screamed in disbelief. "You're lying, I didn't blackmail anyone." Dad looked at her coldly. "You just demanded 3 million in compensation per person, and the entire conversation was recorded. Gu Kai threatened to expose my daughter, and that was also recorded, all 37 of you conspired to slander my daughter. Whether this constitutes false accusation, defamation, and extortion will be left for the police to decide." The police immediately presented their identification, Gu Kai, Lu Xiaoxiao, and the students who just participated in the crowd threatening and demanding compensation. "Come with us to assist in the investigation." The classroom immediately fell into chaos. Some cried, saying they were just following the crowd. Someone shouted that they didn't take the money. Someone begged the principal for help. Gu Kai was still struggling when the police held him down. "Why are you arresting me? I am also a victim," the police officer said coldly. "Being a victim doesn't mean you can blackmail others, nor does it mean you can threaten, slander, or assault classmates." Gu Kai's face turned completely pale. Lu Xiaoxiao collapsed directly onto the ground. "I can't go to the police station. I still have to go to college. I can't have a criminal record." I crouched down, looking at her. "When you encouraged them to tear up my admission letter, did you ever think about my college? When you let them pin the blame on me, did you ever think about my innocence? When you took commissions to trick them into getting on the bus, did you ever think about their lives?" Lu Xiaoxiao's lips trembled, crying too hard to speak. I stood up and said to the police, "You don't need to record her crying act just now. I have all the evidence prepared." Before being taken away, Lu Xiaoxiao suddenly shouted at me like a madwoman, "Lu Qianqian, what right do you have? What right do you have to be recommended to Tsinghua University? What right do you have to have your parents protecting you? What right do you have to ruin me just because I want to make money?" I stopped in my tracks, because I haven't harmed anyone, because my parents love me, because my Tsinghua University admission was earned by my own efforts, and your life, you've ruined it yourself. Lu Xiaoxiao was stunned. Then, she was escorted out by the female police officer. As Gu Kai passed by me, he stared at me intensely. That look was exactly the same as in the fire scene from my previous life, full of resentment, madness, and unwillingness. But I wasn't afraid. My dad stepped in front of me and directly said to the police, "Gu Kai has repeatedly threatened my daughter. We are applying for a protective order and a restraining order. In addition, I will arrange for a lawyer to pursue both civil and criminal liability." Gu Kai gritted his teeth. "Luo Qianqian, do you have to be so ruthless?" I laughed. "In my previous life, you burned my entire family to death. In this life, I'm just making you face legal consequences." "Gu Kai, I've already been very merciful." His face turned deathly pale, whether it was because he didn't understand, or because he did. Chapter 8. The situation quickly escalated, but this time, the initiative was in my hands. I didn't wait for them to set the tone. That same night, my father had the lawyer issue a statement. The statement clearly says, had repeatedly warned that the blood donation organization's qualifications were questionable. Gu Kai and Lu Xiaoxiao ignored the warning and organized classmates to go there. Afterward, some classmates tried to collude, slander, and blackmail me. We have already reported to the police and submitted the evidence. Below the statement, several censored video clips are attached. The first clip shows me reminding Gu Kai not to slander the blood donation vehicle, and him accusing me of spreading rumors. The second clip shows Lu Xiaoxiao promising that blood donation can earn academic credits. The third paragraph is about Gu Kai taking the lead in calling people to donate blood. The fourth paragraph is about them later surrounding the principal, demanding my family to compensate. Public opinion instantly reversed. Some people called me cold-blooded, but they were quickly refuted by netizens. They warned you, got beaten and cursed at, and even called the police. What more do you want? Tie their legs up. Adults voluntarily go to illegal blood donation centers, and now they want to blame the people who warned them. Lu Xiaoxiao's social media accounts were also exposed. She had once posted an ambiguous photo with Gu Kai, with the caption, "Some people don't need to say anything, they'll always stand by my side." Gu Kai replied below, "Whoever bullies you, I'll kill them." Netizens quickly edited this statement together with the video of him threatening me, and it spread rapidly. Gu Kai's plan to apply to a military academy was also exposed. Someone directly commented, "Such a person going to a military academy, don't disgrace the academy, regardless of the medical examination. He wouldn't pass the political review, bullying classmates, organizing illegal blood donations, threatening and extorting, still wants to be a soldier." Gu Kai completely broke down. "He called me dozens of times, I didn't answer any of them." Finally, he changed his number and sent a text message, "Qianqian, I was wrong, I was just too impulsive back then, considering we used to be in a relationship, could you please drop the case?" I looked at the text message and laughed. In my previous life, when he came to my house with gasoline, he didn't seem to remember we had ever been in a relationship. I forwarded the text message directly to the lawyer. The lawyer replied, "Evidence has been preserved." Gu Kai quickly sent another message, "My military academy is gone, and my mom is going crazy. Now are you satisfied?" I finally replied, "Satisfied, but not enough." He never came back. Lu Xiaoxiao's situation was even worse. After her original 985 admission notice was torn up, the school could apply for a replacement, but after the police got involved, she was suspected of illegally collecting blood for profit, and the case is still under investigation. The university, upon learning the situation, directly sent a letter requesting an explanation. Her admission eligibility was put on hold. The fact that Lu Xiaoxiao's father owed gambling debts was also exposed. The creditors came to the school, holding banners claiming she was scamming money. She cried at the school gate, begging Gu Kai to help her. But Gu Kai stayed far away. In the previous life, he burned my entire family to death for her. In this life, it's his turn to be dragged into the mud by her. And he runs faster than anyone else. Her classmates didn't let her off either. Those with abnormal physical examinations and affected admissions transferred all their hatred onto her. I didn't participate, only handing over videos of threats, insults, and physical assaults one by one to the police and the school, who participated in the bullying, who participated in the extortion, who participated in the slander. No one gets away. Chapter 9. On the day of the college celebration banquet, the school hung a banner for me, "Warm congratulations to our student Luo Qianqian for being admitted to Tsinghua University." I stood on the stage wearing a white dress, delivering my speech. In the audience sat school leaders, teachers, parents of classmates, and many members of the media. The homeroom teacher had been suspended from leading the class and did not appear at the scene. The principal personally handed me the microphone, smiling with exceptional kindness. I didn't say any of the usual clichés about being grateful to my alma mater. Holding the microphone, I spoke calmly, "Thank you to the school for giving me this opportunity. But what I want to thank most today is not any particular award, nor any specific praise. What I want to thank is that, when I was slandered, threatened, and isolated, I didn't choose to remain silent." The audience fell instantly silent. I continued, "Someone told me, just endure it, and it will pass. But facts have proven that tolerance won't bring respect. Only more severe mistreatment, facing bullying, illegal acts, blame shifting, and extortion. The best response is not to cry or retreat. Instead, it's about preserving evidence, reporting to the police, and fighting back. Whoever hurts you, make them pay the price." The applause in the audience paused for a moment before erupting with renewed vigor. I saw my mother wiping away tears in the audience. My father sat beside her, giving me a thumbs up at that moment. I suddenly felt that the fire from my previous life had finally been completely extinguished. After the college celebration banquet, I overheard someone whispering, "I heard Gu Kai's military academy dream is completely dashed." Not just the military academy, the police investigation isn't over yet. He was the ringleader in threatening Luo Qianqian, and the evidence is solid. His mother seems to have quit her sanitation job and is taking him to the hospital every day. Is Lu Xiaoxiao even worse off? Her admission qualification has been suspended. Debt collectors are blocking her door every day, and I heard she's even been sued by the parents of those classmates. Serves her right, who told her to trick her classmates into donating blood on that kind of vehicle. I held my juice, listening quietly. No sympathy, nor any guilt. Adults must take responsibility for their own choices. In their previous lives, they caused my entire family to die tragically. This life, I'm just reaping what I've sown. As the banquet was about to end, Gu's mother arrived. She looked much more haggard than before, her eyes swollen and red, carrying a bag of fruit in her hand. Seeing me, she bent her knees as if to kneel. My mother was quick to react and immediately supported her. "Don't kneel, we can't afford it, and we won't be soft-hearted." Gu's mother cried and said, "Qianqian, Auntie knows Gu Kai has wronged you, but he's still young, he really can't have a criminal record. Can you please, for the sake of how I've treated you well in the past, let him off this time? Before, she used to be quite good to me, because she thought my family was well off, my grades were good, and I could help Gu Kai in the future. But after Gu Kai burned my entire family to death, she was the first to stand up and say, 'My son was at home all night, there's no way he could have set the fire.' Thinking of this, I pulled my hand back. Auntie, Gu Kai is not a 3-year-old child. He hit me, insulted me, threatened me, and organized classmates to slander me, all of his own choices. Your begging won't help, the law won't ignore it just because he's young." Gu's mother cried even harder, "But he's already ruined." I looked at her and said softly, "In my previous life, my parents were ruined too." She froze. I didn't explain. "Auntie, you should be grateful. In this life, your son's future is just ruined, at least his life is still intact." Gu's mother turned deathly pale and was shown out by my father. My mother took hold of my hand. "Qianqian, are you sad?" I shook my head. "Not sad. I just feel that, after no longer swallowing my anger, the world really does become lighter." Mom smiled and patted my head. "That's good." Chapter 10. In September, I stood at the entrance of Tsinghua Garden, dragging my suitcase. Sunlight fell on the school gate, the gilded admission letter tucked inside my book. A final message popped up on my phone. It was from an unknown number. "Luo Qianqian, are you satisfied now? Once you're done laughing, I'm done too. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have ended up like this." I didn't need to guess to know. It was Gu Kai. He will never think he's in the wrong, he would only blame others for not continuing to clean up the mess he left behind. I replied, "Of course I'm satisfied. The worse you suffer, the happier I am, and don't contact me again." After sending it, I took a screenshot for evidence, blocked, and deleted. Not long after, Dad sent a message. "Proof that Gu Kai tried to harass you has been handed over to the lawyer. Go to school with peace of mind." Mom immediately followed up with a photo. It was the newly installed fireproof door, surveillance, and alarm system at our home. Caption, "May our family be safe and sound in this life." I looked at the photo, my nose tingling slightly. The flames, smoke, and despair of my past life seemed to be gradually blown away by the autumn wind. From today on, I am no longer that Luo Qianqian who cried while explaining, was forced to endure, and finally died in the fire. I am Luo Qianqian, a new student at Tsinghua University. I am the one who personally pushed the ungrateful child into the mud. I am the one who has finally learned to protect myself and my family. On the day of registration, I wrote my name on the form. The counselor looked at my file and smiled. "You're the Luo Qianqian who was admitted through recommendation. Welcome to Tsinghua University." I nodded. "Thank you, teacher." Behind me, my parents were dragging my luggage for me. Before me was a brand new path. As for Gu Kai, Lu Xiaoxiao, and those classmates who once bullied me, they would struggle in the mud they had chosen for themselves, but that has nothing to do with me anymore. In this life, I will no longer stop anyone from rushing toward the abyss they have chosen for themselves. I will only turn around and walk toward my bright future. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. At 7 months, tests revealed the baby was a super male chimera. I decided to terminate the pregnancy. My husband exploded in anger. "Super males are the ultimate men. You're trying to cut off my family line." My mother-in-law bit her lower lip and sobbed. "I know it. You just don't want to have a boy and be good to the baby." I still insist on checking into the hospital for an induced delivery while they're unprepared. My husband resented me endlessly for this and pushed me off a cliff during a hike. When I opened my eyes again, I had somehow returned to the day I received the test results, with the doctor asking if I wanted to keep the baby. With a delicate smile, I replied, "Yes, absolutely. Not keeping it would be a disservice to my husband's ancestors." Just got home, and my mother-in-law Fiona appeared pouting. "Why did you take so long to come back? The baby's tummy is already rumbling." She doesn't seem to care that I'm 7 months pregnant. Still making me do laundry, cook, sweep, and mop every day. It was the same in my previous life. Right after coming home from the hospital, before I could even take a sip of water, she insisted I cook. At that time, I had just had a big fight with my husband Jack over our child, so I outright refused her. Mother-in-law suddenly covered her face and cried, "I knew you never treated baby as family, you just want to starve me and keep Jack all to yourself. Poor baby's husband is gone." The husband furiously shielded his mother. "Why are you yelling at her? We agreed to take care of her together, she's our family's baby, don't you know that?" With that, the two of them went out to eat, accidentally locking the door behind them and leaving me alone at home, starving to the point of nausea. At that time, I still didn't blame him or my mother-in-law. Not long after we got married, my father-in-law succumbed to his illness and passed away. On his deathbed, he held our hands and repeatedly urged us to take good care of my mother-in-law, even making us swear to treat her as our own child. Before he finally closed his eyes, as for me, at 12 years old, my father had an affair, and my mother jumped off a cliff to her death. I was passed around like a ball among relatives. What I wanted most was a father like this, because only then would my mother stay, so I obeyed my mother-in-law in every possible way. Not only did I reserve a room for her in our new home, but I also followed her instructions daily, cutting apples into little rabbit shapes and serving them in a baby bowl with toothpicks. I even made sure her water was always honey-infused at precisely 35 degrees Celsius, carefully testing it with a thermometer each time to avoid scalding her. Even her underwear was hand-washed by me. I thought sincerity would be met with sincerity, that I could have a mother, but I never expected she always saw herself as a pampered wife and baby. Upon learning about my miscarriage, her first reaction was, "I know, you just don't want to have a boy for the baby's sake." After that day, she started finding all sorts of ways to torment me. Every afternoon she'd sit in the living room eating snacks while throwing trash everywhere. I'd barely finish cleaning one side when she'd mess up the other side again. She wouldn't even let me sleep at night, forcing me to listen to stories about her romance with my father-in-law. One day when I had a cold and passed out on the couch after taking medicine, she straight up threw a cup of cold water in my face to wake me up. I barely managed to wait until my husband came home from work. Furious, I poured out my grievances to him, but he brushed it off lightly, saying, "What's the big deal? My mom was just joking with you. Anyway, you're not pregnant. If you have a fever, just take some medicine and it'll be fine." Thinking of this, I looked at my frail mother-in-law, who couldn't even take care of herself, and smiled. "Mom, I'm pregnant with a super-masculine baby. Even more manly than a man. Our family will have one more person to protect you." The doctor made it very clear to me, this child will not only have violent tendencies but also a high probability of developing schizophrenia. The look he gave me was full of disappointment, but I didn't bother explaining further. After all, no matter how bad things get, it won't be me who suffers. My husband and mother-in-law will bear the brunt of it. At that time, they'll be a tough dad and a weepy wife. Just thinking about it feels great. However, with more than 2 months left until the baby is born, naturally, they can't just sit idle. I posted about the pregnancy online, and the chimera syndrome, more terrifying than supermasculinity, quickly sparked heated discussions across the internet. Some say it's the birth of a demon child, while others claim the king of F-City has arrived. I seized the moment to create an account, gaining 50,000 followers overnight. Excited, I immediately shared the good news with my husband. "Look how amazing our baby is, even before birth. So many people are paying attention. In the future, he could become an internet celebrity and earn you a Ferrari in just 1 year. I must let him know how valuable the child in my belly is. Only then will he dare not act recklessly against me." Just as I had thought, the man who used to stay out all night in my past life has now become a model husband. Every day, he stews fish soup for me, prepares fruit platters, and even gives me massages when my back aches. He said, "Other than getting proper rest, nothing else is your concern." Sweet words flowed endlessly, making me beam with joy. But I'll never be as foolish as I was in my past life, enduring his repeated domestic violence while still believing he loved me, covering up for him, never even suspecting he might kill me. My mother-in-law saw all his kindness towards me these days, turning green with envy. She tried to prove she was still the most favored woman in the house, finding every way to compete with me. Simply put, whatever pleased me displeased her, and whatever I liked, she detested. A few days ago, my husband was exhausted after a long day and had no energy left to cook when he got home, so he hastily prepared 3 bowls of noodles. The baby doesn't like noodles, the baby wants sweet and sour spare ribs. As soon as the noodles were served, my mother-in-law pointed tearfully at the image on her phone screen, holding her shoulders. My husband said, "How about we have that tomorrow? It's too late today, we can't get spare ribs anymore." She gave me a sidelong glance, brimming with smugness, and I smiled faintly. "Honey, How did you know I wanted noodles? Did you hear me talking in my sleep? My mother-in-law's expression changed abruptly, biting her lower lip. But, sweetie really wants some spare ribs. Back when your dad was around, no matter how late it was, he'd always find a way. Do you think I'm a bother now? At these words, my husband looked like a mouse caught by its tail and could only slink off to buy spare ribs, not even having time to finish his noodles. After happily finishing my noodles, I went back to my room for a short nap. Only when the sweet and sour aroma wafted into my nose did I leisurely get up. Honey, I want to start a live stream to show those netizens how good you are to me, making me spare ribs in the middle of the night, my mother-in-law exclaimed in disbelief. These are for the baby, not for you to eat. I quickly twisted my fingers together and lowered my head. It's mainly because the popularity has died down recently, and I wanted to maintain it. It's alright, Mom, you go ahead and eat. I just won't live stream, unfortunately. My husband disagreed and insisted I stay and start broadcasting. That whole plate of crispy sweet and sour spare ribs, paired with my mother-in-law's livid expression, TSK, smells so good. Not long after, my mother-in-law came up with another trick. That night, just as my husband and I had fallen asleep, she barged in without saying a word, just wiping tears and sighing. She insisted on making us ask over and over before reluctantly speaking up. The baby just misses her husband. Back in the old days, she spoke through tears, occasionally glancing at me out of the corner of her eye. The moment I closed my eyes, she would raise her voice, but her husband was already lost in memories of his father, his eyes red as he coaxed her repeatedly, Mom, don't cry anymore, or Dad up in heaven will be pacing anxiously. I vaguely remembered that in my past life, my mother-in-law would always pull me out of the bedroom whenever she woke me up, claiming she didn't want to disturb my husband. As a result, I was groggy every day, and my husband would still blame me for looking sour over trivial tasks. At this thought, I clutched my stomach and spoke weakly, Honey, my stomach hurts, and my head aches too. Last time, I earned $2,000 from just a short live stream. Now, my husband sees the demon child in my womb as a little money tree. Hearing this, he quickly pulled my mother-in-law to her feet. Mom, let's step outside to talk. She needs more rest during her pregnancy. Naturally, my mother-in-law was happy to have some alone time with her son and cheerfully followed him to the living room to reminisce. Over the next month, she would frequently call my husband out. She thought she was picking times that coincidentally interrupted me, unaware that I had orchestrated it all. Whenever my husband had to work overtime, entertain clients, or attend meetings, I would stir up some trouble during the day. Late at night, my mother-in-law would wake him up to listen to her love stories. Just listening wasn't enough. She even started quizzing him, like asking what year she met his father or when they got together. If he answered wrong, she would start crying about how she had lost her love and how her son didn't care about her anymore. Over time, even the toughest person couldn't endure it. My husband made a mistake while negotiating pricing with the client, resulting in his demotion from project lead to team member, and even losing out on the year-end performance recognition. The impatience in his eyes grew increasingly evident, but my mother-in-law remained oblivious, still basking in the pride of her successful romantic conquest. After yet another night of endless chatter, my husband finally snapped, Mom, if you're old and can't sleep, find something to do yourself. I still have to work during the day. Don't you get tired of making a scene every night? My mother-in-law grew up as the pampered princess of her family. Right after graduating from college, she married my father-in-law who had been courting her for 3 years, and then gave birth to my husband, who turned out to be exceptionally obedient. Her life had always been smooth sailing. She'd never been yelled at before. Tears immediately streamed down her face as she flung the door open and ran outside, shouting while fleeing, How dare you shout at me? You were the one who swore to treat your baby well forever. The husband snapped out of it and chased after her. Through the window, I saw my mother-in-law, finally caught, sobbing as she threw herself into her son's arms. Honestly, if not for the significant age gap, it wouldn't look much different from an idle drama. After returning home, my husband hesitantly brought up the topic. My mom used to sleep with Dad accompanying her. After Dad passed, she's been too scared to sleep alone. She's always been timid. She keeps disturbing your rest like this. How about I sleep with my mom instead? Okay, of course, I agreed understandingly. Not only did I agree, but when fans didn't mention me during the live stream, I even brought it up myself. No matter how old my son gets, he'll always be my son, of course. I'll keep sleeping with him. What's all this talk about gender differences? My husband still sleeps with his mother every day. Don't let your minds go to dirty places. the bond between mother and son should not be profaned, completely ignoring the flood of comments below saying, OMG, she just kept showing off her mother-in-law's treasures. Baby bowls, baby hair clips, baby blankets, I want to be as happy as my mother-in-law in the future, using everything exclusively for BA by. The live stream clip from that day was reposted by various marketing accounts, with all sorts of comments flooding in. Many even tracked down my mother-in-law's personal account to insult her, giving her a nickname, Shameless Old Baby. This infuriated my mother-in-law, who tearfully demanded her husband seek justice for her. Her husband had no choice but to reluctantly console her, saying, Mom, she's already so far along in her pregnancy, don't take it to heart. Half a month before giving birth, I threw tantrums left and right. If I felt unhappy in the middle of the night, I'd wake him up to buy me chestnuts, barbecue, or trotter soup. If he refused, I'd start a live stream and cry. During the day, I demanded my husband carry me around the house. If he stopped, I'd complain of stomach pain. I snacked whenever I pleased, cracking melon seeds and tossing the shells on the floor, leaving my husband to clean up the mess. The money I earned from live streaming became a leash around my husband's neck. No matter how unwilling he was, he had no choice but to serve me like a slave. The look in his eyes grew colder by the day, and he often sneaked off to the study late at night. Who knows what he was doing? My mother-in-law watched me with gleeful schadenfreude. Just wait until after you've given birth. Let's see if you can still be this smug. I knew perfectly well that he would settle accounts with me after I had the baby, but I never expected him to act so quickly. While I was struggling in agony in the delivery room, he and his mother were already waiting outside, clutching the divorce agreement I had painstakingly drafted through sleepless nights, drenched in sweat. My husband shot me a disgusted glance. Let's get divorced. No, the baby is still so young, he can't grow up without his mother. I clenched my hands tightly, afraid I wouldn't be able to control myself, and burst out laughing. Don't worry, my mom will take care of him. My mother-in-law lifted her chin triumphantly and scoffed. Don't say we're treating you unfairly. That old house will be your compensation. As for the account and the baby, they're both ours. Don't even think about it. That old house was originally my premarital property anyway. Even if she refuses to give it, there's nothing I can do. But I couldn't be bothered to argue. So I put on another dramatic show of crying and pleading. I don't want the account, I just want my baby, the one I carried for 10 months and risked my life to bring into this world. I'm begging you, please don't take him away from me. Making sure everyone in the hospital heard every juicy detail of the gossip, I had no choice but to agree to give up custody and get divorced. Every effect has its cause, and from now on, your lives are destined to be filled with bitterness. On the day we got our divorce certificate, Jack stood at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, its red walls unchanged from when we got married. His gaze held hesitation as he looked at me. I rushed to hail a taxi to the airport. The divorce is finalized, the bombshell has been dropped. I don't have time to keep up this act with you. I blocked all contact with him and Fiona, listed the old house for sale, moved to LG Lake and opened a homestay. Jack named his child Super, claiming it was to prove Super is more outstanding than other kids. Combined with his single dad who's a good father persona, it actually attracted quite a few new followers. They hired domestic help, moved into a 3-story villa, and even the mother-in-law's nagging became a test of filial piety, inspired many elderly people across the internet to imitate. Back then, Super was still relatively well-behaved, with big, round eyes when smiling, and dimples as sweet as rice wine. Their lives seemed to become even more vibrant without me, until Super started elementary school, when everything took a sudden turn for the worse. The streamer you follow has started broadcasting. I quickly scooped a bowl of plain rice and clicked on the live stream. We really can't accept your child here. The suited person on the other side of the screen changed again. Who knows which unlucky elementary school principal this one is? I vaguely remember when Super first started elementary school, he got into an argument with a classmate and ended up slashing their backpack to shreds with a compass, then placed thumbtacks on their seat. Later, he even burned a girl's hair and poured hot soup on the teacher's head. But every time these incidents were exposed, Jack quickly paid to have the posts deleted, swiftly, so it didn't cause any major uproar, and he was able to continue attending school, until Jack bought him a toy car. The video released by the other child's parents lasted a full 3 minutes. In those 3 minutes, Super drove the toy car, laughing hysterically as he repeatedly ran over a 5-year-old child. The child screamed and crawled onto the lawn, only to be dragged back and beaten. When the child was taken to the hospital, he was covered in bruises, with bloodstains around his mouth. This is not a prank, but blatant violence. At that moment, I felt some regret. I've never seen such a malicious child, so I spent a lot of money to make more people see, to let everyone know that Super is not honey, he's poison. Money indeed proved useful. The parent committee at Super's current school collectively protested, demanding his expulsion. His past misdeeds were also dug up and exposed. Since then, no one in the district dared to take him in, and even Jack's job was affected. 2 weeks ago, Jack finally managed to pull some strings and arranged for Super to attend an elementary school, only for another incident to occur so soon. I'd better take him to a professional institution early to see if there are any interventions. Otherwise, by the time he starts middle school, because it was being live-streamed, the principal spoke. Very tactfully, Jack still maintained his image as a good father. Constantly apologizing with red-rimmed eyes. Let me think again. It's too pitiful for someone so young to be taking those medications. The leave notice hung for a full 3 days, and when the broadcast resumed, the live stream room had been renamed 365 Days Growing Up with Super. He actually quit his job at the state-owned enterprise and chose to go home to live stream full-time with Fiona while raising their child. I don't know what Jack did, but Super has become much more obedient. Faced with Fiona's constant demands, he endured every single one, completely unlike the irritable and low IQ stereotype of the so-called supermasculine man. The baby was never old to begin with. What do you mean by looking younger? Fiona is already pushing 70, but after getting a facelift recently, she insists she's only in her 50s. I felt a bit nauseated watching this and quickly took a sip of lemon water. Right at that moment, Fiona piped up in a high-pitched voice, "Baby is thirsty, wants to drink 35 degrees honey water." Originally thought his good big son would step in, but when turning around, Super appeared on screen holding the bottle. Fiona pouted, showing off her manicure to the live stream audience, while Super held the bottle to feed her water. "This is crystal manicure. Ouch, so hot. It's burning, baby." She had just taken a sip when she spat the water out, and Super looked at her in confusion. Just like your useless mother, can't even handle giving a baby water properly. Punishment, clean up the spilled water from the floor. No water for you today. The baby bottle was already deformed in Super's grip, but Fiona kept ranting about how stupid Super was, how if her husband hadn't died, she'd never have to rely on him for help. Super didn't say a word, turned around and went back to the kitchen, then came out carrying a basin of still bubbling water and called out, "Grandma, I've prepared a surprise for you." Fiona immediately turned her head, and the boiling water splashed all over her face. Without wasting a drop, she rolled around on the ground, screaming like a slaughtered pig. But that wasn't enough. Super ran to the kitchen, grabbed oil, and poured it all over her. "Grandma, if you die, you can be reborn as a baby. Let me help you." His gleeful tone matched the lighter flickering in his hand. Fiona stumbled backward in panic, her foot slipping into empty air. Rolling down the stairs from the 3rd floor to the 1st, his head hit the corner with a heavy thud. And instantly there was no sound. Jack's roar came from downstairs, and Super lowered his head and laughed. "Isn't this right? Grandma always uses this kind of water to bathe me. Grandma wants to be a baby, so I should help her out. Dad doesn't care about me, he only hits me." He spoke incoherently, his face covered in tears. The cold wind that had seeped into my bones finally dissipated. "He truly has many flaws, but I'm the last one who can criticize him. Under absolute profit, people can abandon their principles." Seeing the sports cars, yachts, and Ferris wheels credited to his account, Jack tearfully forgave Super. At that time, he didn't know the weight of this forgiveness would be enough to cost them their lives. "Sorry, Grandma." Fiona was rushed to the hospital in time, saving her life, and even her face was restored to its original state thanks to the power of money. "Go away, get away, Jack. The baby is scared." Despite Super pretending to be well-behaved, Fiona still acted like a startled cat. Jumping up from her wheelchair and darting behind Jack, netizens who wanted to see them reconcile were not having it. "Super has already apologized. What more do you want? If it weren't for this shameless old person abusing Super, would Super have acted like that? There are only a few get-out-of-jail-free cards in this world, being young, old, or sick. In this regard, Super, who is suspected of having schizophrenia, holds 2 of them, a decisive victory." Jack pulled Fiona out from behind him as he watched the out-of-control barrage of comments. "Mom, you said you missed Super even when you were in the hospital. Quick, give him a hug." His gaze was both encouraging and intimidating. Fiona looked back every few steps but had no choice but to follow Jack's instructions, and I couldn't help but laugh out loud from behind the screen. In my previous life, to compensate them for losing their grandson, I gave up my career and even sold my house to support the family, yet neither of them ever appreciated me, but in this life, I seized the opportunity of live streaming right from the start, making money effortlessly. No matter how I acted, they had to endure it, until Super was born as a replacement, and they finally showed their true colors. I suddenly can't wait to see how dramatic it will be when Super realizes this. Another 3 years passed, and my homestay business flourished alongside the rapid development of LG Lake, bringing in considerable income. A vast stretch of land by the lakeshore belonged to me. Meanwhile, Jack's live streaming underwent a dramatic transformation. What started as heartwarming father-son bonding turned into Super's mischievous pranks, pouring glue into her porridge, stuffing dead cockroaches into her hamburger, waking her up in the middle of the night by placing a realistic fake head right in front of her face. Each time, Fiona was terrified to the point of tears, screaming for Jack to save her, but she had no idea that all of this stemmed from Jack's deliberate indulgence. As the audience's tolerance grew higher, their pranks became increasingly extreme. Eventually, Jack even bought 2 pythons for Super, sneaking them into Fiona's bed while she slept. Fiona became a toy in Super's hands, tormented by him time and again, transforming from a spoiled, domineering mother-in-law back into an ordinary elderly woman, with timid eyes, sitting nervously with wandering glances. "Grandma, I've peeled some crayfish for you, come and eat." Super placed the peeled crayfish on the table in front of the camera, along with a glass of red wine. "No, I don't want to eat, baby doesn't like it." Fiona instinctively took half a step back, but was quickly pulled back by the towering Super. "Eat, or I'll get angry." It was unclear what she remembered, but her eyes filled with terror as she frantically stuffed lobster meat into her mouth without even using chopsticks. Before swallowing, she gulped down red wine, the oily red mixing with the deep purple liquid like ominous blood. Before she knew it, she had devoured all the food, and by then, her lips were already covered in dense clusters of blisters. Super, who had also been in the live stream, was nowhere to be seen. Fiona's breathing became rapid, her entire body turning as red as a boiled shrimp. Only then did she realize she needed to leave the room, but no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't open the door. "Super, open the door, baby needs to use the bathroom." Super was outside the door, his voice hoarse. "Grandma, I accidentally broke the key. Open the door quickly." "I feel terrible." "Why would you feel terrible? I clearly ground Grandma's medicine into powder and put it in the wine." "Medicine? What medicine?" "It's the cephalosporin on the table. I put a lot of them there." "Didn't Grandma say she had a cold? I specially prepared them for her." "I never said that. I never said that." No matter what Fiona said, Super didn't respond with a single word. When Jack received the call and rushed back, the ambulance called by kind netizens was already parked downstairs. They went upstairs together and opened the door, only to find Fiona's lips had turned purple and her pupils were dilated. Jack trembled as he extended a finger, then collapsed to the ground. "Mom." Fiona always considered herself cute and cared deeply about her appearance, but under the intense allergic reaction, her entire face was scratched bloody, with flesh torn and exposed. She looked as monstrous as a creature. The live stream death captured the attention of the entire nation. The topic of super male chimerism and innate antisocial personality disorder was brought up once again. Jack once again tasted the benefits of traffic. "I'm also quite satisfied. The more you gain, the harder you fall when you lose it." Super is a minor and hasn't attended school, so the police determined he didn't act with intent. However, Jack still sent him to a psychiatric hospital for evaluation. According to Jack, Super committed crimes not because of an extra chromosome but because he has schizophrenia. He will stay in the psychiatric ward of the hospital for a long time until he is cured, but we all know deep down it's a lie. Whether it's schizophrenia or not doesn't change the fact that Super's genes are evil and his blood runs cold. "His birth stemmed from my hatred. He will never get better." The livestream host switched to Jack, too lazy to listen to his sanctimonious preaching. "I quietly slipped away to the hospital where Super was staying. It's truly laughable, as his birth mother. This was actually the first time I'd ever laid eyes on him. He looked much thinner than on the live stream, his cheeks hollowed out, yet those stubborn eyes of his shone unnaturally bright." "Are you my mom?" "I am." I gripped my phone tightly, feeling somewhat scared. He laughed. "Don't worry, I'm wearing a straitjacket. Dad and Grandma said you ran away with someone, so why did you come back to see me?" My eyes welled up with tears as I slowly recounted the experiences of these years. "Right after I gave birth to you, your father wanted a divorce. All these years I've been watching your live streams. I wanted to come see you, but I was afraid your dad and Grandma would be unhappy and treat you even worse. It's all my fault. I didn't have money or capability. I owe him so much, but not even 1/10,000th of what I've shown. Super nodded indifferently. Can you let me out then? I definitely will, if he doesn't leave. Jack with all that money will soon have a new family and a better son, then I wouldn't be able to sleep. Soon, I got in touch with Jack and, with just a few words, managed to coax him, who was blinded by money, into taking both Super and me back home. Under my careful guidance, Super became more and more sensible, even starting to sit quietly beside me and read books. Jack was quite pleased with me, buying me bags and clothes from time to time. Every time I received them, I would exclaim loudly as if I'd never seen such luxuries before. He had no idea that I took even more money privately. Until the last sum of money flowed away with the fund, the revenge spanning time and space could finally move to the next act. In return, the last supper I prepared was quite lavish. Jack was completely oblivious, gnawing on ribs, drinking beer, and laughing heartily. On our wedding anniversary, I suggested going hiking. Super should go out and change his mood too. It's been a while since we've had a date. Jack's gaze lingered on my face, just as it had in the past. In my previous life, he had looked at me with the same intense affection, and I had thought he had finally forgiven me for the secret abortion. You're no longer the man I once knew. He only said this one sentence, and before I could retort, I was pushed off the cliff. Branches tore my face, rocks shattered my skull, and a thick branch impaled me through the chest, blood gushing out. But I wasn't dead yet, still clinging desperately, hoping someone would find me, hoping Jack would regret coming to save me, that I might survive. Yet I waited and waited, until the dark clouds parted and the first light of dawn appeared, only to sink into darkness again. Still, no one called for me. Coming back to my senses, Jack gently asked me, "Isn't it tiring to hike in high heels? Do you want to change into sneakers? I can walk very fast in high heels too. You'd better keep up with me." But just over an hour into the hike, I couldn't take it anymore and had to rest. "You go ahead with Super, I'm too tired." Jack pretended he was going to carry me on his back, but I wasn't going to let him have his way. "No, I'm wearing a skirt, I might accidentally expose myself." He had no choice but to refuse. Watching their shrinking figures fade into the distance, I turned and entered the lounge next to me, waiting for the storm that had come that year. After my rebirth, I changed many things, but the one thing I couldn't change was the weather that was destined to arrive. In my past life, a heavy rainstorm had fallen on this day, scattering the crowd. That was how Jack avoided the masses, and my cries for help went unheard. I gazed at the dark clouds already gathering on the horizon, and with a clap of thunder, the rain arrived right on schedule. The curtain of rain obscured all vision. Trembling with excitement, I was mistaken by the woman beside me for shivering from cold, and she insisted on draping her coat over me. "You young girls just care about looking pretty no matter the occasion. Who goes hiking dressed so lightly?" We chatted intermittently, and strangely, I felt an inexplicable connection with her. At one point, it even made me think that if I had a mother, she would be like this, round-faced, with 2 dimples when she smiled. But how could that be? If my mother hadn't passed away, she would be in her 50s or 60s now, not looking 32. The rain gradually lightened, and everyone was heading down the mountain. I tilted my head back and looked at them one by one. Not a single one was Jack, but neither was any of them Super. My heart gradually sank. After returning the clothes to the elder sister, I was about to head up the mountain, but she grabbed me tightly and wouldn't let me go. "Every cause has its effect. Everyone who reverses causality must pay a price. You've paid yours, and I've paid mine. Now everything is back on track. It's time to come down from the mountain." It's a childhood nickname I've never mentioned before. Only my mother and father ever called me that. The vague image of a woman in my mind became clear once more. She had a round face with dimples when she smiled. Mom, during my pregnancy, I kept having the same dream, a woman pierced through the chest by a tree, hanging mid-air. In my heart, I silently pleaded, "Save me, Mom, it hurts so much," she said. "Save me, Mom, it hurts so much." She uttered the exact same words at that time. I thought, such a well-behaved little girl was too pitiful, so I shouted in my dream, "Mommy is coming to save you." But no matter how loud I shouted, she couldn't hear me. I was so anxious that I cried helplessly, but there was nothing I could do. Later, before giving birth, I stopped having those dreams, and I thought it was all over, until your 10th birthday, when you were scalded on your chest and left with a red scar. I suddenly realized that the person calling for Mommy was my most heartbreaking little one. Jack once told me the legend of this mountain. Legend has it that whatever you willingly give up, you can get something in return. At that time, I thought rebirth came because I had given up on survival. Only now Do I realize it was my mother willingly sacrificing her life to bring me back anew? She reached out to wipe away my tears. I'm sorry, my dear, Mama still failed to protect you. I could no longer hold back my overwhelming emotions and threw myself into her arms, crying my heart out. Mom, it hurts so much, it hurts so much, Mom, when Jack broke my head. It hurts so much, Mom, when Fiona tripped me and I fell down the stairs. It hurts so much, Mom, it hurt when I gave birth, and it hurt even more when I fell off the cliff, but nothing hurt as much as when I found out you died for me. The wailing pain was washed away by the heavy rain. I don't know how long I cried before falling into a deep sleep in her arms. It wasn't until dawn broke on the horizon and someone shouted for rescue that I opened my eyes, only to find my mother had vanished without a trace. The rescuers arrived quickly, covering both stretchers with white cloths. One of them stirred slightly. I rushed forward and grasped his hand. Super flashed a faint smile. Mom, yes, I'm here. Choked with emotion, I couldn't speak, and he whispered softly, come closer. I quickly leaned in, but before he could finish his last words, his eyes remained open as he fell into eternal darkness. After the police arrived, they sealed off the scene. Based on the evidence, it was inferred that the two had argued. Super attacked Jack with a hiking pole, and Jack fought back fiercely. Due to the slippery mountain path from the rain, he accidentally pulled Super over the cliff with him. They doubted me too. After all, it's rare to see someone climbing mountains in high heels and a dress. But first, there was no substantial evidence. Second, many people in the lounge testified that I fell asleep as soon as I arrived. And third, Jack had already donated all his money to the Institute for Genetic Disease Improvement before his death. I stood to gain nothing. That's why they let me go. Back at the guest house by LG Lake, it dawned on me belatedly that the Super male chimera was their own retribution. In my past life, I shielded them, which is why I died so tragically. My mother had already foreseen my fate when I was 10, and she willingly traded her life for mine, setting this life on its rightful path. Yet whenever I think of my mother, I'm reminded of Super's unfinished words before death. Mom, I know, you don't love me today. You deliberately chose to climb the mountain, but it's okay. Do I not care? Do I hate you? Am I dying, or do I love you? I don't know either. After hearing the second story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. At the checkout counter, I pointed to the 2 extra bottles of shampoo on the receipt. Excuse me, we didn't take these 2 bottles of shampoo. The cashier frowned. They've already been scanned. It's troublesome to refund. Just take 2 more bottles. But this is your mistake. My voice unconsciously rose slightly. The line of people behind me began to stir, someone clicking their tongue impatiently. My mother tugged at my arm. Stop embarrassing us. I insisted on a refund, and during the argument, the shelf collapsed, hitting me right where it hurts. As I lay dying, I heard my parents say to those around us, the child doesn't know any better. We don't care about such a small amount of money. Finally, they took the supermarket's compensation, trading my life for $80,000. They hastily cremated me, telling those around them during the process, it's so undignified. This child brought death upon themselves by being too petty. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the checkout counter, my mother habitually handing me the receipt to verify. This time, I decided to be the bigger person. I looked at the shopping receipt my mother handed me but didn't reach out to take it. Mom, you check it yourself, I said with a smile, pushing the cart forward half a step. Her fingers visibly stiffened, trembling slightly as they pinched the receipt. In the past, I was always the first to check the bill and spot any discrepancies. Jenny, just take a look. My mother lowered her voice, her eyes darting toward the line of people behind us. Cashiers are professionals, I said calmly. Besides, it's not good to fuss over such a small amount. My mother's expression instantly grew complicated. She had clearly spotted the 2 bottles of shampoo on the bill that we hadn't bought, just like in our previous life, but this time, no one would speak up for her. At checkout, I noticed her knuckles turning white as she gripped her phone. On the way home, she finally couldn't hold back. Jenny, we overpaid by $89. So what? I replied absent-mindedly. Consider it buying the cashier a milk tea. At night, through the thin walls, I heard my parents arguing in hushed voices. It's all because you didn't look carefully. Weren't you always the best at calculating bills? It ended with my father's curse. Consider it fed to the dogs. In the darkness, I smiled silently. This is only the beginning. I'm the one my family calls the nitpicker. When settling the bill at the restaurant, the waiter accidentally overcharged us by $88 for a steamed sea-based dish. After carefully reviewing the bill, I politely pointed out the mistake. "Excuse me, we didn't order this dish." I flipped the menu to the corresponding page. My parents and younger sister tacitly lowered their heads to play with their phones, as if this matter had nothing to do with them. It wasn't until the waiter apologized and returned the cash that my father suddenly looked up, frowning and saying, "Jenny, making such a fuss over such a small amount is really unbecoming." Accompanying my mom to the vegetable market over the weekend, the fruit vendor loudly advertised, "Fresh lychees, $10 per pound." Mom picked up a bag and hesitated, looking at me, and I immediately understood. "Boss," I pointed to another customer's shopping bag. "You just sold them to that auntie for $10 per 2 pounds. After some negotiation, we finally settled on 2 pounds for $10. Mom sighed as she took the lychees. "Jenny, running a business isn't easy. Why do you have to be so particular?" The funniest part was when I went shopping for clothes with my sister, a dress clearly marked at $199 showed up as $219 at checkout. Just as I was about to speak up, my sister pinched my arm hard. "It's okay," she said to the cashier. With a sweet smile, "Maybe I misread the price." She paid as quickly as if she were grabbing a red envelope. As soon as they stepped out of the store, her sister's expression changed. "Do you know how hard it was for me to build a good relationship with this store?" She immediately sent a voice message in her best friend's group chat. My sister embarrassed herself again outside, bargaining over clothes. How annoying. I watched the rapid fire "ha ha ha" replies popping up on her phone screen and suddenly realized that in this family, my petty grievances were merely the perfect foil for them to maintain their magnanimous personas. In this lifetime, I've decided to be a magnanimous person. My younger sister had a hairpin adorned with rhinestones, a birthday gift she'd begged our mother for ages to get. When her deskmate Lucy deliberately crushed the hairpin underfoot, she came home crying her eyes out to tell me, "Sis, Lucy did it on purpose," she sobbed, gripping my wrist, her nails digging into my skin. "Go tell the teacher, you're the best at reasoning." In my past life, I spent the entire lunch break in the teacher's office, demanding an apology and getting Lucy to replace the exact same hairpin for my sister. In the office, Lucy's mother glanced at me sideways and remarked, "So fierce at such a young age. You'll surely never suffer losses when you grow up." The homeroom teacher sighed beside us. Why make things so tense between classmates? But the next day, I saw with my own eyes my sister pinning the new hair clip onto Lucy's hair, smiling as she said, "My sister loves to nitpick, but honestly, I stopped caring long ago." Lucy stroked the rhinestones on the hair clip. "Your sister is such a petty person, it's terrifying." The classroom echoed with waves of laughter. At that moment, my sister, her eyes red, placed the crushed rhinestone hair clip in front of me. "Sis, Lucy is really going too far." I kept my eyes on the variety show playing on TV, ignoring her. "Sis," she shoved my knee hard, "are you even listening?" I hit pause. "I'm listening." "So what happened next?" Her mouth hung open like a stranded fish. "Lucy did it on purpose," she even said. My sister's voice suddenly choked up, waiting for me to pick up the conversation as she had countless times before. I gently placed the hairpin back on the coffee table. "Would you like some juice? I just made it." My sister looked startled, her fingers endlessly twisting the hem of her clothes. She suddenly grabbed my wrist, her nails digging into the same spot again. "Can't you just be like before?" "Like before how?" I smiled as I pulled my hand back, the crescent-shaped nail marks on my wrist faintly reddening. "I don't want to be petty." My sister's pupils contracted sharply. In the living room, the audience on TV burst into sudden laughter, drowning out her rapid breaths. My mom came in holding shopping bags. "What's going on here, Mom?" My sister immediately turned around. "My hairpin, oh." My mom glanced at the hairpin on the coffee table and understood. "Out with the old, in with the new." She patted my sister's shoulder. "Don't learn to be as petty as your sister." I took a sip of orange juice, sweet with a hint of bitterness. No one in this family would stand up for her except me, and my mother certainly wouldn't buy her a new hairpin. My sister stood frozen, her gaze shifting between me and our mother. Finally, she grabbed the broken hairpin and ran upstairs, her footsteps pounding heavily on the steps. The property fee notice had been lying on the dining table for a week. My parents were waiting for me to notice the overcharged property fees on my own. Finally, tonight, they couldn't hold back anymore. "Jenny, take a look." Mom pushed the bill toward me. "This month's property fee seems off." I picked up a bite of greens with my chopsticks. Maybe they adjusted the rates. Dad also cleared his throat. I heard old Wang next door encountered the same situation last month. Really? I lowered my head to sip soup. Did Uncle Wang go ask the property management? Silence fell over the dining table. Early the next morning, I heard them arguing in hushed tones by the entrance. Go ask what's going on. My mom shoved the payment slip into my dad's hand. Just say you're inquiring. My dad recoiled as if burned. How can I ask? A grown man like me shouldn't nitpick over $300, right? Then we're just supposed to pay $300 extra for nothing. My mom's voice suddenly rose before dropping sharply. Jenny always used to handle this. I don't know what's gotten into that kid lately. Their conversation abruptly stopped. I was coming down the stairs when my dad hastily stuffed the payment slip back into the drawer. Morning, I smiled as I tied my scarf. It might rain today. Don't forget your umbrella. For a whole week, that payment slip haunted our house like a ghost. It appeared on the fridge door, on the shoe cabinet in the entryway, and even got, accidentally, placed into my work folder by my mom. Each time, I put it back untouched on the dining table. The quarrel finally erupted on a weekend morning. Can't you be more generous? My dad yelled before slamming the door shut. Always nitpicking over $300. My mom threw the cleaning cloth into the sink. If we don't get this money back, forget about buying that fishing rod of yours. In my previous life, I spent 2 hours arguing fiercely at the property management office with the payment records in hand, finally managing to reclaim the $300. That very night, I heard my dad on the balcony making a phone call. Hey, old James, take me fishing tomorrow. I just bought a new rod with the money my daughter got back. Laughter came from the other end of the line. That stubborn daughter of yours causing trouble again. Yeah, I didn't really care about that little bit of money. But my daughter makes a big deal out of everything, my dad replied, his tone dripping with disdain. In the evening, my dad came back dejected. Old James's son-in-law helped him get back the overcharged property fees, he said, tossing his keys onto the shoe cabinet. Now he's showing off his new fishing rod everywhere. The knife my mother was using to chop vegetables suddenly came down heavily on the cutting board. I sneered. Mom, Dad, our family tradition is generosity. Don't lose your dignity. Late at night, I heard the electronic beeping of a calculator coming from the master bedroom. My mother whispered, adding this month's amount, we've overcharged a total of $460. Dad responded vaguely, and suddenly his snoring became very loud. In this lifetime, when the news broke about the piano institution absconding, I was peeling an apple in the living room. The tip of the knife pierced the fruit's skin, splashing a few drops of juice. Mom rushed into the living room holding her phone. Jenny, your sister's piano class, I saw, I said, rotating the apple as the peel hung in a long strip. The parents' group chat exploded. In my previous life, I immediately contacted over 30 parents to form a rights protection group. We blocked the institution's entrance for 3 days and eventually recovered 70% of the tuition fees. On the night we got the refund, Dad counted the bills while wetting his fingers with saliva. You've caused such a scandal. How will your sister ever make it in the music industry now? My sister curled her lips, crumpled the refund slip, and threw it into the trash. All my classmates are laughing at me for having a shrew of a sister. Sis, my younger sister rushed downstairs barefoot. Wang Lu said her mom already got the refund. That's awesome. I took a bite of the apple, juice dripping onto my pajama pants. Mom twisted the edge of her apron. Jenny, maybe you should go ask. Mom, didn't you always tell me not to nitpick? I wiped my hands. This time is different. It's tens of thousands of dollars. I shook my head. Mom, you've changed. You're becoming more and more calculative. My dad let out a heavy sigh. I'll go ask. He came back without even taking off his suit jacket. His tie askew. They said it's still going through the process. How did you ask? My mother eagerly stepped forward. My father avoided eye contact. Well, I just asked them when they could sort it out. I kept scrolling through my phone when messages started popping up in the parents' group chat. Successfully defended our rights. 70% refund has been processed. Thank you all for your persistence over these 3 days. In my past life, this money allowed my younger sister to continue her final session of piano masterclass. She wore a white dress and performed at the art exam, while the judges nodded frequently. On the day the results were announced, her name was followed by the gilded words, admitted, in this lifetime. The piano teacher sent a message, Cindy's mom, the fee for the masterclass. My mom checked her bank balance and replied, sorry, teacher, we'll have to skip it for now. On the day of the art exam, when my sister reached the third measure, her fingers suddenly froze, like butterflies stiffened by cold, resting on the black and white keys on the report card. The 1.5-point gap seemed like an insurmountable threshold. She failed. Dad folded the notification twice and tucked it into the very bottom of the drawer. Now that grand piano has become the most expensive decoration in the living room. My dad bought a new car. The day he drove the new car home, the entire neighborhood could hear him honking the horn. I stood on the balcony, watching the subtle color variations that appeared on the car's paint at certain angles. It seems just like the last life. Once again, the 4S store sold my dad a refurbished car disguised as new. In the last life, when I pointed out the issue, my dad threw the car keys on the coffee table. Bad luck, must you jinx me. Later, I sat at the 4S store all day with the inspection report and finally got it exchanged for a new car. That night, he sent a voice message in his car club group. My daughter just loves to nitpick. Honestly, that slight color difference didn't affect driving at all. Dad, this car is really beautiful. In this lifetime, I praised while touching the door handle. The corners of his mouth stretched almost to his ears as he polished the steering wheel until it shone. On the weekend, my dad took us on an outing in his new car. On the highway, the dashboard suddenly lit up with red warning lights. Dad's forehead was beaded with cold sweat, but he still insisted, just minor issues. A new car needs breaking in. It's normal. When the engine let out its final mournful groan, our entire family was stranded on the desolate provincial highway. The tow truck driver shook his head after inspecting it. The chassis has been welded. You guys got seriously ripped off, Jenny. Dad suddenly lowered his voice. In this kind of situation, can we? What can? I blinked my innocent big eyes and asked. Dad's face turned red, and after a long pause, he awkwardly said to me, Jenny, what I mean is, can you go to the 4S shop and talk? Mom and my younger sister watched silently by the side, not saying a word. Talk about what, Dad? I continued playing dumb. Can we just get a new car instead? Fixing this one is going to cost a fortune, Dad said with a troubled expression. Dad, are you suggesting I go argue with the dealership? I mimicked his tone from back then. Dad, making a scene over such a small matter is embarrassing. Let's be the bigger person. After lying in the repair shop for a month, that top-of-the-line used car was finally towed back. My dad stood in front of the garage, his face looking even worse than the car's paint job. Jim, is your car fixed now? Uncle Wang, our neighbor, poked his head in and asked. I heard the transmission alone cost you over 10 grand. The corner of my dad's mouth twitched. Just pocket change. At dinner, my mom slammed the dishes so hard it sounded like thunder. 38,000 in repairs. That's enough to buy a whole car. You don't know shit. My dad stabbed his chopsticks into the rice. This is the top-tier model. It's probably a refurbished top-tier model. My sister scraped her spoon against the bottom of the bowl. My father shot her a sharp glare, and she immediately ducked her head. Didn't your car group offer any advice? I picked up a piece of greens with my chopsticks. My father's Adam's apple bobbed twice. I knew his so-called bros from those car groups were probably sharing his misfortune as a joke right now. Last month's bargain hunter has now become the cautionary tale in the group chat. In my past life, while I was staying up late organizing rights protection materials, he sent a voice message in the group. My daughter always gets hung up on details. Honestly, as long as the car can run, that's enough. Jenny, my mom suddenly put down her chopsticks. I remember you knew that used car appraiser. You mean manager Tom? I blew on my soup. Didn't Dad say we shouldn't associate with such nitpicky people? I deleted him ages ago. My dad's ears instantly turned as red as taillights. Early the next morning, I was jolted awake by heated arguing. I don't care, my sister shrieked. You promised to take me to the music festival this week. No money. My dad waved his hand dismissively. All the money went to fixing the car. Your father would rather suffer than lose face. My mother's scolding was punctuated by the clatter of dishes. Had to buy this piece of junk just to show off. Enough, my father roared. All of you. When I pushed open the bedroom door, all three turned toward me simultaneously. 6 eyes locked onto me in unison. That look I knew all too well. They thought that the nitpicker, who always cleaned up the mess, would step in again. Good morning, I smiled as I tied my scarf. The weather is lovely today. Just as I was about to leave, my dad suddenly stopped me. Jenny, is there really no other way with this car? I tilted my head and thought for a moment. There is. We could protest outside the 4S store with banners, just like Uncle Lee's family did. Looking at his expectant face, I added, but someone as magnanimous as Dad wouldn't do such a thing, right? My mother's hands clenched tightly around her apron. You used to, Mom, I interrupted softly. Didn't you always say girls should be gentle and magnanimous? My sister suddenly threw her backpack to the ground. You've changed, you could've, what's wrong with that? I looked at her calmly. I'm just following your advice, being magnanimous and letting things go. Is that so wrong? All three faces froze simultaneously. They finally realized. That fool who'd always charged ahead without hesitation would never fall for their tricks again. The real reckoning hadn't even begun yet. On the 7th day after Grandpa's funeral, a man wearing a worn-out suit rang my doorbell. He had a tear mole at the corner of his eye, identical to Grandpa's, and clutched a yellowed paternity test report in his hand. According to the law, I have the right to inherit this house. The old man never fulfilled his duty to raise me. Just give me this house. He sat in my living room, speaking word by word, then guiltily pushed up his glasses after finishing. In my past life, I stayed up 3 nights studying the inheritance law, arguing fiercely, and ultimately managed to keep the house. That day, my dad patted me on the shoulder and said, "Daughters are still useful," but then he turned to my sister and said, "Don't learn from your sister. If a girl is this strong-willed, who would dare marry her? Come in this lifetime." I stepped aside with a smile. "Dad, we have a guest." My father came out of the study and listened to the whole story. Nonsense. Veins bulged on his forehead. How could Dad possibly? The paternity test was done in 2013, the man calmly unfolded the document. The crisp sound of paper made my mother tremble all over. I gently pressed her hand, veins bulging. "Mom, blood is thicker than water. We should be more forgiving." This was what my mother said to me in my previous life, after I fought for the property. My sister hid at the corner of the stairs, her nails digging deep into the railing. In my past life, she glared at me with reddened eyes, calling me heartless, saying our illegitimate uncle was pitiful and dead, yet I still wanted to take away his only hope. Now her lips were moving, but no sound came out. Either go through legal proceedings, the man eyed the crystal chandelier, or you move out. My dad suddenly grabbed my arm. "Jenny, didn't you study law?" "Yeah." I flipped open the civil code. "But illegitimate children do have equal inheritance rights." My finger paused on the page I'd once dog-eared. "But don't worry, Dad. Litigation would take at least 2 years. My dad had just breathed a sigh of relief, when the man suddenly smiled. "What a coincidence. I know a lawyer friend." He pulled out his phone. He said he could speed up the process. I remained silent, watching the family of 3 fret-like ants on a hot pan. "Jenny," my mom's nails dug into my flesh. "Say something." 3 pairs of eyes burned into me, just like countless times before, waiting for me to charge into battle. "Winning, they say. Why bother arguing? Losing, they say. It's all your fault for being so serious." My younger sister rushed over and tugged at my sleeve. "Sis, you're going to live in this house too. What about you?" I tilted my head. "Aren't we living together?" My father straightened his collar. "I'm a grown man." My mother lowered her head to adjust her apron. "I don't understand these things." My sister twisted her skirt hem. "Mom and Dad said we should be generous. Then let's give it to Uncle." I smiled at the man. "He really seems to need this house." The day my illegitimate uncle came to claim the house, he wore an expression of utter disbelief. His hands trembled as he touched the leather sofa. He probably never expected the James family to be so generous. When the movers carried out the TV cabinet, my father suddenly knelt in the center of the empty living room. This is a school district apartment for top-tier schools." His tears hit the wooden floor. I dragged my suitcase past him, the wheels rolling over his shadow. "Didn't you say, little sister, that a good attitude matters more than a good school?" My mother suddenly lunged at the uncle's illegitimate child. "You beast, bastard, give me back my house." Her nails left 3 scratches on his suit. "Mom," I grabbed her flailing arm, "you're losing your dignity by making such a fuss." My sister huddled in the corner, her fingers unconsciously pressing non-existent piano keys. That bastard uncle graciously allowed her to take the piano. But now that massive thing could only be temporarily stored in the moving company's warehouse. Our rented old house simply couldn't accommodate it. As the last piece of furniture was carried out the door, my father suddenly grabbed my wrist. "Happy now?" His voice was hoarse. "Watching this family fall apart." I slowly pried his fingers open, mimicking the kindly expression he once wore when saying those words. "Dad, wasn't it you who taught me, those who suffer losses are the most blessed?" After graduating from university, I moved out and rented my own place at the law firm. I specialized in handling consumer rights protection cases. My meticulous approach helped many clients secure the benefits they deserved. Due to outstanding performance, I quickly became a partner at the firm. The family members who once despised my penny-pinching ways have now become the very people they used to hate. My father's magnifying glass has become the nightmare of the neighborhood property management. Every day, he squats in front of the utility bills, slamming the table over. Discrepancies as small as $5 in shared electricity fees. Last week, a security guard secretly told me he saw my father copying water meter readings with a flashlight at midnight, determined not to be overcharged even by a single cent. My mom, who always used to say, being taken advantage of is a blessing, has now become the most troublesome customer for vendors at the vegetable market. She'll haggle for half an hour over a wilted cabbage, shouting, "Business should be honest," loud enough for the whole street to hear. Someone saw her at the supermarket entrance, laughing and crying over a receipt that overcharged her by 20 cents, murmuring, "If only Jenny were here." My sister, once known for her generosity, was recently fired from her bubble tea shop job for insisting on overtime pay for just 5 minutes. Her best friends collectively blocked her because she insisted on splitting the bill down to every single leaf of vegetable during their AA-style dinners, and her piano, because the rented apartment was too small, was eventually sold to a scrap station for $300. Sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting neat stripes of light on my desk. On the latest commendation banner received, the 4 golden-threaded characters reading, "Defending Rights for the People," were shining brightly. After hearing the stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.